Hi, everyone. Welcome to the November Mappy Q&A with the Geospatial Professional Network's Vanguard Cabinet. We have organized this event so people with interest in the geospatial field have an opportunity to submit questions ahead of time, and we get to answer them live. This is our last Mappy Q&A of 2025, and we have a special guest with us today. We want to thank Ethan McGee in advance for joining us. He was the former chair of the Vanguard Cabinet, and we're grateful for his time today. So, to get us started, our current vice chair, Tito, will introduce our organization. Then our panelists will introduce themselves by answering one of our submitted questions. Just a reminder, we will be summarizing our responses so we can tackle as many of the submitted questions as possible, but feel free to continue the conversation with us offline. All right, Tito?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. What is the GPN? Well, the GPN is a nonprofit organization that is full of professionals using GIS. We deliver education, training resources, lessons learned. We have regional chapters, as mentioned, and we also have a Vanguard cabinet, which is who are all presenting today. The Vanguard cabinet is a group of young professionals that come together to give back to the geospatial community and work alongside other young professionals and try to bring outreach and other resources and opportunities to those young professionals to help them on their career journey. Back to you, Olga.
Thank you so much, Tito. All right. So, our first question that'll help us introduce our panel is what was your career journey like? What inspired you to pursue your current field? And were there any pivotal moments that shaped your career? And we'll get started with Johnny.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. My name is Johnny Harley. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I'm a GIS analyst for Direct Design Group, and I have 9 years of experience in the field so far. And I started off as wanting to be a getting my teaching certificate in social science ed, but then I switched to GIS late, and really wanted to go to the technical route initially, but now kind of going towards that business development and managerial route. So early on, I really loved atlases, studying those on family road trips, poking around on Google Earth and all that good stuff. But what really was a pivotal moment in my career was actually during COVID, initially to pay for my wedding. I started a side hustle as a freelancer, and that kind of got me interested in business development, being exposed to different industries around the world. So um, I'm enjoying the journey so far.
Sweet. I think I'm up next. Hey, everyone, my name is Ethan McGee. Like Olga said, I am the outgoing chair, or I was, and still a member with GPN, which is great. I'm also a GIS specialist with the city of San Luis Obispo, and have been involved with GIS for around 5 or 6 years professionally. I would say a couple pivotal moments for me. One, I loved going outdoors as a kid. I loved hiking. I grew up in Seattle, Washington. But I found that I spent most of my time at the trailhead looking at the maps as opposed to actually hiking. So that was kind of a clear sign that I was interested in maps, cartography, GIS from a young age. I found it as an elective in college and undergrad. Did a bunch of cool projects when I was there. I'm currently getting my master's right now. And I would say the second pivotal moment for me was joining GPN because that introduced me to a ton of amazing individuals within the GIS community, both young professionals and experienced pros as well. So I've been able to attend conferences and meet a bunch of cool people. That's a little bit about me.
Hi everyone, I think it's my turn now. My name is Gudon Peiwa. I am currently in Palapa, Botswana, and my journey was a little weird because when I finished high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to make money. So at the time, there was a huge demand for geomatics and surveyors, so I did that course, and for years I just didn't know what route to go. And then third year, I attended a spatial analysis class, and I fell in love. And did my thesis on GIS for retail location analysis, and that was it. I just went, head first. Pivotal moments. When I finished my degree, I presented my project at a nationwide engineering conference, and I got such good response and such good feedback that I felt like, this might be what I'm good at. This might be what I want to do. So from there, I worked for a bit. Now I'm completing my master's, and I'm really happy I took this course. I'm really, really happy. So, yay. can't wait to answer more questions and get to know everyone.
All right, awesome. And I'll go next. So my name is Rodrigo Ramirez, but I go by Tito. I'm based out of Austin, Texas, and I'm the manager of geospatial analytics and insights at HEB, a grocery retailer out of Texas. And my career journey was also a little wild. I had dropped out of college a couple times, then I was going back for bio, and then a pivotal moment occurred when I got a D in a Chem 2 class. It was like, what am I gonna do? And then I remembered a bio professor mentioning GIS. So then I took a course during the summer and just fell in love with it and just went like full on into it and ended up getting an internship with HEB that was focused on severe weather and store impact. And I did one that was focused on hurricanes, and there was a hurricane that occurred at the same time that happened, which was really crazy. So that all happened and it went super well to where they wanted to keep me on, and I graduated, and that just jump started my career there. And then the second pivotal moment was I found myself in this analyst role and was like, okay, I can go down this technical route, go down this people route. And eventually my boss and my mentor was able to have this real conversation with me of where I should go and where my strengths were. And I ended up going down the people route, and I'm now managing the team. And it's just been a wonderful experience so far, but it has been quite the journey with a lot of twists and turns along the way. So that's a little bit about me, and I'll pass it off to Olga.
Thank you so much. So, hi everybody. I'm Olga Tambazides. I'm based in Los Angeles, California, and my journey started when I was accepted to UC Santa Barbara for geography. I was really attracted to human geography, the science of movement, and I found the GIS courses really interesting. So that helped me continue in getting my first job in the field, which was working with UAVs, and I was learning QGIS, but had a lot of time not learning in the Esri system. So I went back for my master's in GIS, and that network connected me to the GPN. So I believe the GPN was a really pivotal moment in my career because I have leaned on my peers here to write me letters of recommendation and help me with my resume and just sanity check, like with where I'm at in my field. And I don't believe I would be starting my new job next week without them. So I'm very grateful for the community here. And I will pass it off to Brianna.
Hey everyone, nice to meet you all. My name is Brianna Zumhoff. I am Partner Strategy Manager at Eagleview Technologies. It is an aerial imagery company. I'm specifically work in the government business unit. So I work with a lot of counties and cities and making partnerships that enable those counties and cities to integrate their imagery into workflows. I didn't necessarily have a traditional career journey. I didn't go to undergrad for geography. I was actually a communication studies major, focused in media studies, and I was entirely convinced I was going into radio. But I didn't really understand, the career trajectory at that point. I was only 18, didn't really know. And I just realized, pretty early on that it was difficult and not a lot of upward career trajectory for that. So eventually I did know that I wanted to go back to school. Not necessarily for what, but as a kid, I was always very interested in like sense of place, community planning, sustainable design. I was, as Johnny mentioned, I was the navigator for my family growing up. So the more I started looking into GIS, the more I was excited about it and all the cool things you could do with it. So I guess one of my pivotal moments of my career was that I reached out to a professor at the University of Iowa, just on a whim to see if they had any volunteer opportunities. And they said yes. And that was literally what got me my foot in the door. I spent a summer surveying trees, and I was a tree hugger for a summer. Doing some GPS collecting, and that really kind of just set me down the path of where I am today. So excited to hear all of the questions that we have coming up, and I will pass it back on, and we can get going into the actual Q&A.
Yes, thank you so much, Brianna. Thank you so much, panelists, for your time today. So let's get started. Our second question is, how do you stay relevant in your skill set? How do you find time to learn, and what tools do you use? And Ludo's gonna help answer that for us.
How to stay relevant? The thing with relevance is a big part of it is looking at your community, looking around you, looking what's happening in GIS, looking at what you see people doing and what you see a need for GIS being around, if that makes sense. So as a master's student, I don't have a lot of time. I go to school and I work and I have businesses on the side. So it's very difficult for me to stay relevant while also looking at school and work and, finding sustenance and all of that. So I found that a key in all of this is organization and efficiency. So what I would do is I would map what I want to do around what I'm already doing. So, for example, I'm a bit of a night owl, and right now I'm on a panel at 10 p.m. my time because I stay up late. So, might as well get some work done. And I found a way to integrate this with my master's program as well. I'll go to school and I'll have a class at 10 and another class at 2. So in between there, I'll do a few videos on YouTube to try and get up abreast with new technologies. I'll do an Esri certification there. I'll do a Coursera certification there. I'll attend conferences. I'll attend panels. Just try and zone like lay out your schedule, what you need to do, and try and find an hour there, 30 minutes there. All of that can help you find a way to add to your skills. And how do I stay relevant? I follow people who inspire me. LinkedIn has been a great tool in this way and groups like GPN and YPN and Botswana Institute of Geomatics, you look at these groups, you look at what these people are doing, you attend Mappy Q&As, you attend conferences, and you can see what's going on in the industry, and you can see where you can slide yourself in and what you can learn. And a lot of the times people wait for a university or employer to tell you, go learn this. But sometimes you just need to take it upon yourself to, search a YouTube video, look for a tutorial online, find someone who's doing what you want to do and just send them an email, send them a message on LinkedIn and be like, I want to learn. How can I learn this? What can I do? And again, with time, efficiency, and organization, you need to make sure you have a good grasp of your own schedule and how you can make it work for you. So, yeah, that's how I stay relevant and important. Don't forget your soft skills. For a long time, I focused on the technical skills, whether I was good with what GIS software, whether I was learning the right coding, whether I was learning this or that. And I almost forgot how to write a resume, how to go to an interview, how to network, how to prepare a presentation, how to speak on a panel, how to ask questions. So try and join these communities and look for these people who can help you in all those things you feel like you struggle in. Great resources are the mentee mentor program, Mappy Q&As like we're having now, so many different things that you can do. And again, just go to GPN and you'll see so many different things that can help you stay relevant, help you understand where you need to go. So yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Ludo. That was very thoughtful and thorough. Our next question, what are your thoughts on the worth of a master's degree? I would love to hear from various backgrounds, said the submitter. I'll get us started with this one. So I have my master's degree in GIS specifically, and because my program was welcoming for like all levels, the knowledge wasn't very cutting edge or deep diving into any specific thing in GIS. It was very broad knowledge. So like knowledge wise, I'm definitely sure it could have been found online or, through how Ludo said, all the different ways that you can self-teach. But what I gained from my master's program was a network of my peers, the free conference passes, the relationship with my teachers and advisors. All of that took me really far. I know that also when you're applying in like the public sector, having a master's degree helps you in like the points that you test into to apply for roles. So, and just in general, I believe that the knowledge can be obtained anywhere, especially if you're good at self-teaching, but the opportunities that I gained from the degree was very worth it. And I don't think I would have gotten that just on my own. And I know, Brianna, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Olga. So as I mentioned, my experience was a little different from probably most people, where I didn't have a background in geography, but I knew that that was something that I wanted to get into. So the master's degree for me was actually very worthwhile because this is what entirely enabled me to be able to actually change my career trajectory. Um, it also, I think, as an added benefit, a lot of times for jobs when you're applying, They have different education or experience levels that they kind of outline. And oftentimes, if you do have a master's degree or a higher educational degree beyond a undergrad degree, it actually gives you a level up. You could probably enter in as like a specialist two or an intermediate level rather than an entry level job. And then with that, there's always the added benefit of maybe a little bit of a bump in starting pay too. So that's something that I found that was a benefit. And, as an additional offering too that you could also consider is trying to find a position that offers like a teaching assistant role or something that you're doing in your master's degree that and actually pays you to go to school. I was very, very lucky in that sense that I didn't come out of school in debt, which was great. I got the degree and was able to work for that degree at the same time. So in general, I would agree a lot with what Olga had to say too. It's benefited me much more in terms of networking and opportunities beyond just the undergrad degree.
Awesome. And Luda, did you want to add on to that as well?
Yes, yes. Um, so I am completing my master's degree right now, and a big reason why I went into a master's degree is my long-term career trajectory. So when you get qualifications, especially qualifications that take years for you to get them, be very mindful of what you want to do long term. You don't want to spend 2, 3 years in a school and God forbid get into debt and then you don't really use it from there. So my trajectory is I want to go into academia and research. So a big part of that is a master's degree and a PhD. So hence why I'm going this route. And another thing you need to be mindful of with your master's degree and your PhD, it is more about how you are your critical thinking, your problem solving as an individual. Don't go into it thinking it's going to be classes and you're just going to get an A and move on. A lot of it is research. A lot of it is putting your ideas onto paper and figuring things out. So really take the time to research the master's degree you're going to do and how it will add to your long-term career trajectory, as well as whether or not it is what you want to do. Okay, because I know plenty of people who did a master's degree and went on to go into an industry and didn't really use it. And I know people who did a master's degree and went on to do more things in industry and it opened a lot of doors for them, just the fact that they had a master's degree. So again, it's up to you and what you want to do long term.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ludo and Brianna. So our next question is, how important do you think an online CV or portfolio is? How often have you been asked to provide one? And we'll have our portfolio guru, Ethan, answer that one.
Thanks, Olga. Yeah. To answer this question, I think that an online portfolio is very, very important. I think it's one of the few ways where you, as a professional, are able to show the skills and the projects that you've worked on and have kind of a tangible project or product to show those projects. In terms of if I've ever been asked to provide one, in the job applications that I've done or when I hire, I don't explicitly ask for a portfolio, but I would say if I'm provided one or when I provide one, when I'm applying to something, it always is a positive. It's always like an extra, plus one in my application, group. And I think that by having a portfolio, not only do you stand out in that application process, but I also find that it helps with the confidence through going through a job application process. By building a portfolio, you reinforce the skills that you have developed over the last couple of years. You showcase the projects that you've done that usually you'll end up talking about in an interview. And so by building that portfolio, by having that tangible product, I find that the people that will interview or when I have interviewed for different positions, I have a better idea of what I'm talking about. And that usually helps me in that job application process. So I think that it may not be asked for every single time when you apply, but it is extremely important for the job application process, especially for young professionals that may not have as much work experience to note on. by having a portfolio, you're able to talk about the project specifically, and they don't need to be tied to a job or your university. They can be passion projects that are equally as valuable to put on a portfolio.
Thank you so much, Ethan. I definitely did my portfolio because of Ethan. So I agree with all of that. Yeah, Ludo
Olga,
too.
if you don't mind, actually, I've got one other thing to say.
Yeah.
GPN has a great YouTube channel where they host a lot of the webinars. One of the webinars was done by a former VC member, Kate Berg, a couple years ago. And she details in great detail, I think about an hour long, about how to build a portfolio and what to include on it. I think that's one of the most informative videos that GPN has put out to offer for young professionals in particular. So if you're curious about that, go to GPN's YouTube video, type in GIS portfolios there. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. It's a great, great resource.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much, Ethan. All right. So our next question is how valuable is a GISP? So I'll get us started with this. And obviously, this is all of the things that we're saying is just our opinions and just reflections of our personal experience. So from what I've observed, people who have obtained the GISP have done it as like a personal metric because it's a great reflection of your participation, your volunteering, and your knowledge of GIS. During conferences, I totally believe that it elevates a speaker knowing that they have a GISP. But what I've observed outside of like the conference world and GPN, I don't know any peers for my undergrad or my master's program that have it or feel like they need it. I haven't been asked about it in any of my jobs or interviews in the industry. I know that LA County was attempting to pass the idea that people with GISPs would get a raise or a bonus, but that didn't pass this year. So maybe in the future. So just overall, if you have the bandwidth to obtain it, I think it would feel great. But I just at the moment have not seen it as a factor in the job world. And I know, Tito, you wanted to add on to this one?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I am totally in your camp and I agree. Like I've heard arguments for obtaining it and not obtaining a GISP, but at the end of the day, I think you need to have that conversation with yourself and I see it more as like your own personal journey. I wouldn't put the pressures of like income or like maybe I need this for this next step to obtain it. Like if you want to obtain it, that's the first step. And if you want to obtain it, then it becomes super valuable because you get invested in it and it almost becomes something that's like I don't want to say fun, but it seems fun to do because it's like, all right, this is cool. I get to, test my knowledge, test my skills, gain new skills maybe, and just able to test myself in this environment. So I wouldn't say it's something like that to put pressure on. And if you are into it and you have the bandwidth, as Olga mentioned, I say go for it. Why not? It's going to help you in the long run, one way or another. It's not going to hurt. And it's something that I'm actually striving for right now. I have the portfolio set up. I just need to like take the test. But it took me a while to get there. It's whenever you're ready kind of thing. It's like at first I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And then eventually I was like, okay, you know what? I am ready for this. Let me invest my time and effort into this. And it's been great so far. So, personal journey for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely in my future as well. Just when maybe I'm done with GPN, or not done with GPN, but graduated from the Vanguard. Okay, so our next question is what unexpected sectors are hiring in GIS? And I will hand it off to Ludo.
Okay. This question's a bit tricky for me because I honestly believe that anything that has a location attached to it has so much potential for GIS and analysis and getting so much information from it. There are there's so many different ways to use information about land. Say, for example, a singer is going around touring around the country. They could have the locations of people tweeting about their concert um, analyzed during using GIS, and then they would know, okay, I have more people there, so I should maybe have two shows there instead of one, or four shows there instead of that. There's retail. I actually did a project with a retail chain where they were trying to expand and build a mall, and they had two choices between two plots, and they were trying to figure out which one would have better traffic in terms of customers. So I did an analysis of those two plots and then I gave them a recommendation that this one would do better. And they used that. There are so many different sectors. You can go into finance. Um, You can go into insurance. The statistical analysis that you can attach to location in GIS can be used to look at risk analysis, look at how people in the finance market either use a product or how they go about their spending. There's so many different sectors that you can go into, but if you want like concrete job postings, again, unexpected places are finance, retail. I've heard of people with bakeries using GIS to do route finding in order to do their deliveries. There's so many different places you can go into. You just keep an eye out. And again, emerging lately is healthcare. There's a lot of GIS application in healthcare, especially with the tracking of epidemics, the tracking of medicine. Our country right now is having a painful shortage of medicine. So a part of rectifying this was creating a map to see, okay, where are we having the worst shortage? Where do we need the most of this medicine or the most of this practitioner? So there's so many different sectors. Just keep looking out and don't be narrow-minded and just think property, engineering, construction. There's so many things. As long as there's a location attached to it, GIS can apply.
I agree. Yeah, your creativity is your limit. Okay, so our next question, have you stayed in more technical roles or strive for managerial and or client-facing roles? What led you in this direction? And we're going to hear from Johnny.
Yeah, this is a great question, and I think it's a question that, or it's a problem that people run into at some point in their career. It's kind of like a crossroads, and it seems like the natural progression goes like you start as like some sort of tech, and then you go to like a specialist or analyst, and then maybe a senior analyst or something, and then just because you're the best analyst in your organization, you're automatically a manager. And I don't I see that a lot in the engineering field where you get their PE and then you're automatically a manager. And I think it's common practice, and I don't necessarily agree with it because I think some people's skill sets are, not necessarily they're a great technical person, but just because they're the most senior or best, they move into management. So I think that's something you see a lot. So it's definitely a crossroads you have to cross at some point in your career. My direction, I initially wanted to go the more technical route. Developer, took a lot of Python classes in college. Was really pushed to me in college, actually. And I love that entrepreneurial, like, if I know enough code, I can basically create anything. Yeah, that was pretty cool to me. But then my personality kind of changed over time. So I went from like translating code to solutions or web pages or whatnot to translating people's problems to solutions. So um, I got so excited about just like walking into City Hall and like solving someone's very simple problems, such as like the other day, I had a client that had code violations for 20 years in an Access database and they wanted to visualize it. Like that was super exciting to see like their face um, glow when I'm like, okay, yeah, we just plot those addresses on a map. You can, see changes. So I think that the big picture thinking really excited me. And like I said in my intro, that freelance exposure was super big for me. But I also want to mention that it's important if you go that managerial route, business development route, to still stay technical enough so that you can kind of talk the talk enough in meetings, and then you can kind of delegate some more advanced tasks to people on your team who are maybe experts. Just my personal experience, and I know Brianna has her own personal experience.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny. So I also pivoted towards management. I started out as a specialist, and I really enjoyed the work, but some aspects I did feel a little bit more monotonous to me. And it's my personal opinion, but after a while, I was like, I'm ready to see what else is out there. So, I also felt also a little bit like in order for, and maybe this is just a general trend, but maybe to be able to move up in my career, it would be the natural progression to move towards management because I haven't really found many technical jobs that really offer that progression for higher pay unless you really have a lot of like coding, software developer experience, which completely other topic, but I think that's one of the major gaps that colleges or universities should offer is like a computer programming degree with a focus in GIS, because that would be the best of both worlds. But I was ready to try something new. So I found this account manager position that was offered. It was client facing, and even though it was less technical, it was still very technical and still very challenging to find solutions for customers, which in and of itself was something I was looking for. I was looking for something that was still challenging, but changed on a day-to-day basis, depending on what kind of questions that they came to me. So finding those solutions and setting them up for success was really something that I found rewarding. And the technical background that I had really aided this work because I was able to use that knowledge to build their GIS program with imagery. In general, I think the longer that you're in the industry, the more experience you have. So just from a very high level perspective, I think that's probably why a lot of people are pushed towards that career management path. But I guess the way that I try to still maintain my technical background is thinking about it from like a teacher's perspective is like if I have that technical information, I can instill that still down to people from who may not have quite as much knowledge, or it's a challenge for me to maintain that technical knowledge. So I think, I like having both the managerial and technical roles, but yeah, moving towards this direction was something that I was very happy with.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Johnny and Brianna. And our next question, why is it hard to find internships for GIS? This is a very thoughtful question. I will hand it off to Ethan.
Yeah, I think it's applicable for a lot of people trying to get their foot in the door with GIS. So I know that this person asking the question is not the only one that has thought of it. From what I've talked to with others, from what my organization has done, one of the reasons why I think GIS internships are so difficult to find is because the position won't only focus on GIS. So in my organization, we may not have a GIS intern, we may have a planning intern, or we may have a utilities intern. GIS may be one of like the primary job responsibilities, but it's not the sole role within the internship. The organization is focused more on developing all of the skill sets of the intern as opposed to just GIS. And so I think one of the reasons why it's so difficult to find a internship with GIS is because a lot of times it's packaged with other responsibilities for a larger internship. So, what can you do to find something that will include GIS in that internship? That's a great question. One thing that I would do would be to search for skills as opposed to titles. So instead of looking for a GIS intern, instead what you could do is on LinkedIn or on other, pages to search for keywords like ArcGIS or geospatial or remote sensing or something along those lines where, you're not going to be getting a GIS intern as the output, but you may be getting internships that have GIS as a core responsibility or a duty. And if you're willing to accept that you're going to learn other things in that internship, could end up being a really, really beneficial opportunity for you to see what is outside of the GIS world, in addition to learning some of those skills at that internship. So completely understand it's a difficult market to try to get your foot in the door with, but I would just maybe try to switch up the way that you're searching for an internship and use more of those skills as the or skills that you want to learn or have to find that opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ethan. That was super helpful, I hope, for our young professionals out there. Internships are great. I know it's hard to get, but I think it's worth the pursuit. I had a geospatial internship with a brain science lab when I was at school, and that was very interesting seeing the overlap and also me knowing that's not the path I want to go down with my career. So I think internships are fantastic, even if they're not maybe in the specific sector that you thought you wanted to see yourself in. I think it's almost like you get a free taste at a job without the commitment of having to, be hired and stuff. So our next question, How long in advance do you typically start putting together ideas if you want to speak at a conference session? And I'll take this one on. I think this is a really fun question as 2 years ago, I never presented anywhere. I've never done any conferences. And then this last conference, I had three presentations during the week, and it was like a whirlwind, but it was awesome. So what I've seen from myself and my peers is you either have a presentation you've done previously and you will update it for the latest conference, or when you see the conference start accepting submissions, you start brainstorming for an idea. Conferences will accept a general summary of the idea that you want to present on and then accept or deny based on that. And it's up to you to have it ready by the conference. So most people put in the effort to build out what they really want to talk about after they find out if their topic was accepted. My personal experience, I presented twice on a story map I built last year. And so that was pretty much ready by the submission date. I also have the experience of creating a presentation with a friend, and we pretty much started working on it together the Monday of the conference up until the minute that we needed to present, maybe even being a couple minutes late to our session. So there's like a whole broad experience that people do, but I think the timeline kind of just kicks off when you see submissions are starting to be accepted for conferences. Does anyone have anything else they'd want to add on that? Not, we can just go to the next question. Perfect. Ooh, topical. How will AI affect our job prospects? And I will hand this off to Ethan to get started.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, again, another like burning topic that everybody's loving to talk about on social media, and it's a big keyword. AI is everywhere. In terms of how it will affect our job prospects, this is my personal opinion, and you're welcome to have yours as well. To me, in the GIS sector, I see AI being used to process data exponentially quicker than done by humans. So, in my organization, on my team, we used to go through and draw building footprints manually, where we would get new aerial imagery from Brianna from EagleView, actually. And we would have to go through and click a bunch of dots to try to outline the footprints. It took forever. And that was actually one of my jobs as an intern that I hated. And so when I transitioned over to being a specialist, I was able to use some machine learning to extract building footprints and cross-reference that with our existing layer. So it took, dozens of hours, hundreds of hours even, into a couple hours of running a script. And so that data has been processed exponentially faster. What does that mean for our job prospects? Well, it means that we'll have to learn how to quality control the data instead of creating it. So instead of manually digitizing, I had to go through and review the data and make sure that it was up to the certain level of standard that we needed for the analysis and cartography that we needed. So from a technician standpoint, learning how to quality control data using AI will be really important. And then from an analysis standpoint, is this data actually going to be what you can use? Is this something that you're going to be able to draw, a end product out of? Are you able to make a map with this, a report, a dashboard, something like that? So I think in terms of the prospects of the jobs won't, be outright taken by AI. But I do think that there is a uh, benefit in learning how to work with AI. And if you're able to do that, I think that your job prospects are going to be totally fine. And now we're in a great opportunity where we're aware of it. We know that's where the industry is heading. So we have a little bit of time to learn how to process that. And there's a lot of ways that you can do it. Esri has a bunch of training materials for you to get familiar with what AI actually is. It's been around for a really long time. Just now the keyword is being brought up a ton. So I don't think it's a immediate threat to any of our jobs. And instead, I would use it as an opportunity for you to learn how to interact with it. So that way you'll have better chances of finding a job in the future that will use AI or be complemented with it.
Fantastic. And Brianna, did you want to add on to this?
Honestly, Ethan, you just so succinctly described what had as thoughts as well too. But I think in general, AI will just help you do your job more efficiently. There's fears, people are saying that AI is coming for our jobs. I don't think that's true. I think AI will not ever be able to fully replace a GIS job as it's like highly subjective. It does require that human review and validation. And understanding more so increasingly, I think it will be understanding metadata that will become more increasingly important for those validity checks too, because you'll really want to understand the transparency of what the data is, where it's coming from, and then once it's processed, actually having that AI through the AI having the checks and the QA/QC understanding. So I would say use it to your advantage, especially like the really cool natural language models that Esri's coming out with. Those are pretty slick. It's being able to say, show me within 5 miles all of the XYZ things that I need to know about this particular area, and it will spit it out for you. So I think it's something that will, become a part of our job on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, it's a new, relatively new now, but in general, I think it'll become more and more regular occurrence and really an opportunity for an increasing efficiency across your job as well, too. So, Ludo, did you have something to add on as well?
Yes. I I don't know, I'm not really terrified of AI. I think of AI as any technology that comes along. I mean, my initial training was a surveyor, and before we had levels, and we had automatic levels, and then we had total stations, then theodolites, then laser scanners. And with each one of these things, it made work more efficient, and it also terrified people that, oh my God, now we don't need people trekking down a mountain for 4 days. We can do it in 10 minutes. And they would think, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. But it just made work easier. And the professionals who were able to adapt with the newer technology, just as Ethan said, just as Brianna said, were able to work with it and have it make their jobs much, much easier. So I think, like any technology, we just need to see how to make it work for us.
There we go. Thank you so much, you guys, and I appreciate the positive and optimistic spin on this. I think all of what we said is accurate, that it's a tool. We got to learn how to use it. Okay. Ooh, this is a fun question. So I work for a private utility company and we collect massive amounts of field data, but it doesn't always translate into action. What have you seen work well for bridging the gap between raw data and meaningful decision making? Fantastic question, and I'll hand it off to Johnny.
Yeah, this question hits home because I work for a private engineering company who also collects massive amounts of data. Um, so being able to translate data, I think, is a real skill. I've worked with lots of people that are so intelligent almost to a fault that they can't speak in simple verbiage to explain really technical workflows or data to a normal, like non-technical person. It happens more often than you think. So I would say being involved with those meetings lately, I would say, those decision makers or leadership loves visuals. So of course, dashboards. Some of the best dashboards I've seen had 3 widgets, heat maps, priority lists. I'm a big one on like red, yellow, green sort of visualization or symbology on maps for inspections. Um, Leadership often doesn't have like a ton of time to, sift through a bunch of raw data. So just make it easy on them. Also, different groups of people at your organization speak different languages. So don't portray the same message to every group. So your C-suite people, they want to know about risk and long-term planning. Operations want to know about like safety, efficiency, finance, ROI. Field personnel wants to know about domains, get more technical. So I would say tell the story first. So like, what's the recommended action? Lead off with that, and then show the map as backup, right? So if you show the map first or whatever, then they're like, oh, what is this? It's just points on a map. So I would also finally say keep visuals and everything else like reports and again dashboards consistent. Leadership again doesn't have like a ton of time to try to decipher what you're trying to say, so keep it as simple as possible. So definitely a great question.
Hey, Johnny, if you don't mind, I can add on to that. I think
Yeah,
that, yeah, if you're writing a report or doing something, keep it in a bullet point format as if you were to write it on a resume. They're not going to read a paragraph of the work that you've done And if they do, then you'll definitely be able to write about it. But by, concising that down into a few bullet points or specific metrics, they're going to understand the end product. I think GIS and a lot of technical positions really focused on like how to make the methodology or the workflow like the most beautiful. And really what the, decision making individuals want is, okay, what are the facts? What do I need? Cool, let's move on to the next thing.
Right.
So
Agreed.
yeah, teaching them the bullet points. And then if you are making a dashboard, one tip that I've done is make like a 30-second video of yourself interacting with the dashboard and showing what the different widgets are. So that way, all they need to do is watch this 20-second video of, okay, this is what this does. They'll understand it and then they can move on with it. So they can figure out what the data is, if you're going down that route.
Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate the tangible steps that we can do to take raw data to meaningful decision making. So on to our next question. Does anyone have any advice on navigating conversations related to career growth and promotions with supervisors? Fantastic question, and I think Tito's going to kick us off.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, great question. The first thing I would say is be intentional, proactive, and show initiative. So, I was in an analyst role for a minute, and I was trying to figure out, all right, where do I want to go? And that's also a first step too, is figuring out where do you want to go. As earlier as others were talking about, I was going down the technical route. I was like, okay, well, I can go and be a DBA for this company, or maybe the people route. And I found my strength being a people person, so I pursued that. But that was like the first step. It's like, okay, I want to go down this managerial route. All right, how do I have that conversation with my boss? And so what I did was I started creating an IDP or an individual development plan myself and just writing things in there that I wanted to do. And then when I felt good with that, I presented them with this. So I came with them not like, hey, like I want to get this promotion or hey, there's this title I want to strive for that's within this company. It's like, this is what I want to do. Here's what I'm striving for. This is my development plan. Is there a checklist to get there? I would love to get that checklist and start working towards that. What does that timeline look like? And how can we work together on this? That's what I would do up front. If they're like, there's not a checklist, or if they're not as cooperative or collaborative in this sense, I would say just keep asking, keep the conversation going. Don't let it be like a one-time thing that happens during a yearly review. If you have one-on-ones, then bring them up every one-on-one and just keep it top of mind and keep working towards it. So it's really like not just one conversation, but it's a continuous one that happens throughout the year. And I say you just be intentional and just let them know your wants and where you're trying to go. And I think that most employers would appreciate that. As a manager myself, I think I would appreciate that where if someone came to me is like, hey, this is what I want to do. Here's my checklist and like here are the things I'm working towards. That would be awesome. And then in addition to that, just be your own champion. Like document the things you've worked on. Document like this year I built these skills or these are the things I achieved. This is how I helped the company save time or money and so forth. And as you do so and you show them these things, then it's like, okay, wow, it's like it's almost like giving them a reason they can't say no. So where they're like, okay, yeah, all right, you've done these things. You know what? You're right. All right, here's this promotion or here's where you want to go. So I would say take all those things into consideration, but you have to be your own champion and just go for it. So what's the worst they can say is like no, and then you just keep working towards the goals that you have. So I would say that's a good starting point, but just be super intentional about it and just be real with it. And I would say things will generally work out. So um, yeah.
Johnny, did you want to add on?
Yeah, I'll just say one quick thing. I agree with everything Tito said. Those IDPs and SMART goals are great. And then also the list of accomplishments, just coming in with facts. But one other thing I'll say is stress partnership rather than like entitlement, kind of like an investment, like you're an investment. So just say like, here's the value been able to create. Here's how I'd like to grow. And here's how those goals align with our entire organization's goals. So then it doesn't come across like, hey, I'm just trying to leverage myself to, maybe get another job or something, or I'm just a stepping stone. I'm an investment. So I'll leave it at that.
Beautiful. Yeah. And then when you were talking about what to present, it reminded me of the earlier question about portfolios. So like having your own personal list of like projects that you've done and just keeping like a running list of all your accomplishments. I do that as just to help my memory because I don't remember anything I did from a month ago. So yeah, love that. Thank you so much, you guys. And our next question, what's the best way to get professionally trained in ArcGIS Pro for someone changing careers? Fantastic question, and I will start handing it off to Ludo.
Hmm. Best way to get professionally trained. I'm going to answer this in two ways because I'm both professionally and not professionally trained. A lot of what I know about ArcGIS Pro, I learned through going in there and figuring it out. But I know a lot of the times you want something to point at a certificate or some kind of thing to say, look, I did it. So I would say ArcGIS Pro. I would go onto the Esri site. The Esri site, I remember when I was doing my undergrad, when I fell in love with GIS, my lecturer who was teaching me that course told me to go on the Esri site and I would find like little courses to help me stay abreast and afloat. And I went and then I found a bunch of free courses. Like there's so many free courses that take 6 weeks that you learn things from geo AI to kernel density to prigging to something as simple as clipping and buffering, just so many things that you can do just on the site. And most of them come with certificates. They let you know that this one comes with a certificate, this one doesn't. There's so many free. And then there are others that go like as you I guess time up in your career, you can start spending some money on it. And then there'll be more and more certificates or more and more programs or courses you can do with them that you pay for that give you more of an edge. Another option is look at different organizations like GPN, like YPN, like RMRCD. They offer so many courses in which you are certified in using ArcGIS Pro, doing some of their exercises, their training workshops, things like that. But once you have the certificate, don't stop there. Take the time to literally just experiment. A lot of what I learned with coding, with ArcGIS, with QGIS, with literally all my skills was I got the certificate, yes, but afterwards I'll just go in there and mess it up a little bit. You learn a lot by fixing your own mistakes. You learn a lot by just getting data from somewhere and just seeing what can I do with this data, and you just go ham and see what you can produce from that. So take the time to do that. Follow these organizations and follow people within the organization so that you can see, especially as research can, if you're being specific about ArcGIS Pro, so you can see that, okay, they're offering a training for this. You get a certificate. It's a 6 month training. It's a 6 week training. It's a 2 week training, whichever one works best for you. And that is, I think, the best way for someone changing careers. And if you're changing careers, you might need a lot of basic knowledge. So again, YouTube is your best friend. YouTube tutorials, go onto these people's GitHubs. You'll find little projects, you'll find little codes, you'll find little things that explain to you, this is how I went about this, and you'll learn a lot. So yeah, don't be afraid to mess it up a little bit and see where you get. We'll see where you get. And eventually, trust me, eventually the more you tweak it, eventually you'll start to understand it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ludo. Brianna, did you want to add on?
Uh, sure. I know we're almost at the top of the hour here, but I highly advocate. I don't know about professionally trained. That was a part of the question, but I highly advocate for e-learning tutorials and then MOOCs, massive open online courses that Esri offers. Those are how I self-taught myself to become proficient in ArcMap, so I will 100% advocate for those all day.
Perfect. Thank you. And yeah, just to highlight, we are 6 minutes away from the top of the hour, and we're on our second to last question here. What certifications are most valuable or recognized in the GIS field? And hand it to Johnny.
Yeah, several certifications. Definitely you can get for different sector disciplines of GIS. Obviously, spoke about the GISP earlier. Definitely, I don't think it's necessity, but I know the GPN salary survey, little plug for that, said that it does make annually 10K more per year. So not I don't think it's a necessity to get a job, but definitely an option. You got your PMP or your CAPM, so PMP, your project management certificate, And then the pre-PMP is a CAPM if you want to go down that project management route. If you want to go towards more server deployment, I would recommend like an AWS or Azure certificate. If you want to go that route, also not like officially certified, but the Esri technical certs, or if you want to go data collection route, Trimble has one, and so does like EOS. So kind of depends on what you want your journey to be like. So
Thank you. Yeah, that was really good. That little path for each journey that you want to be on. So our last question, besides ArcGIS Pro, what tools or technologies are becoming most important to learn? And Ethan, would you like to answer?
I think Brianna's actually going to start this one, but I'll add.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess personally, dashboards and statistics are important. Somebody mentioned, taking large amounts of data and actually translating it into action. If you can take raw data, analyze it, present it in a way that's digestible to non-technical folks, through an interactive dashboard, that will be your superpower. I will advocate for that all day.
Yeah, and I'll tag on, I think, web development skills, ArcGIS Online, open source web development platforms, Leaflet, are just going to help you. I think that there's always going to be a need for paper, like static PDF maps. That's not going to go away, but in my organization, I'm seeing more web applications be requested as the end product, as opposed to 5 years ago when I started out, where, the majority of the requests were asking for a paper map. So I think that knowing those skills and seeing that trend, anything that you can do to learn the kind of the back end of web application development or the front end of understanding the user interface will benefit you. So yeah, what Brianna was saying, dashboards, I think that's a great place to start.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, Brianna and Ethan. And thank you for our panelists for their time today. Thank you for the audience for joining us. Thank you for all the submitted questions. As we mentioned throughout the whole webinar, that GPN has tons of resources and tons of events that we definitely we participate in, and we highlight that you guys should also participate in them if you're looking for more ways to connect and learn and grow in your field. So thank you so much, everybody, and I hope this was beneficial.